Oh boy, WattCycle just came out with a 12,000 watt inverter. They may have just put the EG4 12000XP on notice. We're going to be comparing the two side by side, and I'm going to be putting this WattCycle unit through heck and back so you guys can make a determination if it's any good or not. This is one you don't want to miss. Let's get this unboxed. We've got an inspection report here for quality control. We've got this data cable here. We've got some documentation and a baggie of mounting hardware, as well as some ring terminals, which is nice. Then we've got these little boxes right here. We've got the CT clamps. On the sides here, we've just got some basic ventilation. Some more ventilation on this other side. And the bottom is where all the action is. AC and out glands here. We've got an AC circuit breaker, USB port. This looks like a Type A USB port labeled Wi-Fi. Here's your battery communication port, RS485. A couple of different dry contact ports here. Here are your parallel connections for parallel inverters, battery cable input glands, PV wire input glands, and your master on-off switch here. And guys, check out this. This is cool. Little magnetic dust filter. It's not an incredibly fine filter, but something that is better than nothing, and it's just magnetized, so it's easy to take off and wash. On the spec sheet here, it might be hard for you to read. We do have a split phase output 12240. The inverter is compatible with lithium ion as well as lead acid batteries. It's built to work with 51.2 volt nominal batteries. It can discharge up to 270 amps from the batteries and is able to charge them at 250 amps. It's compatible with double-aught gauge wire. It has two MPPT charge controllers, rated up to 500 volts DC. The max PV ISC is 40.5 amps. Functioning voltage range is 90 to 450 volts DC. It looks like it can accept up to 18,000 watts of PV. That's 9,000 watts on each MPPT. And it can accept up to 10 gauge PV wire. Wouldn't mind seeing that increased to be able to accept 8 gauge personally. 12,000 watt pass-through capability, max wire size 6 gauge. And then AC output here, it does output 12,000 watts as well with a max wire size rating of 6 gauge. So that's pretty crazy that that's a 12,000 watt inverter. I've got a 12,000 watt inverter here on my wall. Let me show you the difference in size between these two. So I don't know if the scale is coming through on the camera or not, but this is meaningfully smaller than the EG4 12000XP, and they're both 12,000 watts. Now let me just mention a couple of differences just so you guys have a good idea of what the less expensive WattCycle unit is going to give you versus the 12000XP and vice versa. So first, a major difference that you need to be sure and take into consideration is that the WattCycle unit is actually a hybrid inverter. We've got these CT clamps here, right? This has grid interactive features that the 12000XP doesn't even have. The 12000XP, you can't see it right here, but it has a full 100 amp pass-through. The WattCycle has a 50 amp pass-through. 12000XP comes with a battery breaker right here, 300 amp, as well as an AC load breaker right here. This does not have a battery breaker, and it just has a AC power supply breaker. The other thing that I use a lot of is this smart load port that the 12000XP has. I use that a lot to AC couple existing solar that I had on my house. It runs on a solar edge system. And notice that it has, its own breaker here on the 12000XP. And I looked in the manual here and I did not see any way to AC couple solar on this WattCycle unit. Other difference is that you've got a PV disconnect switch built into the 12000XP. The WattCycle, you'll have to get an external one of those. And we'll find out how the navigation is. I believe this is a touch screen. The 12000XP does not have a touch screen, but it has very nice buttons that work quite well. As we saw, there is a port labeled Wi-Fi, and you can put a Wi-Fi dongle into it. It is optional. It does not come in the box with the WattCycle unit. The 12000XP has the Wi-Fi dongle included, but you can disconnect it like I do if you don't want to have it on 24/7. And obviously you could do the same thing if you purchase that separately from WattCycle. Solar input is another big difference here. The WattCycle can accept up to 18,000 watts of solar input. The 12000XP, I believe, is 24,000. And then obviously price. I'm going to put up a price comparison between the WattCycle with the 12,000XP here. And you can see even still, the WattCycle comes in less than the 12,000XP. But obviously there are a few things your compromising on that could be good or could be bad depending on your particular situation. And that's why I wanted to do this comparison here so you guys could have at least some idea of, apples to apples, what are you getting between these two? And take note that nothing is plugged into the output of this inverter. It's just running idle at the moment. And you can see our idle draw is 112 watts. Heavy load testing on this WattCycle 314 amp hour battery, as well as the 12,000 watt split phase inverter. You can see currently we're outputting about 1900 watts coming out of the battery. We've got about 38 amps. Let's add more to it. I'm going to add an extra 5,000 watts with this chargeverter here. Okay, chargeverter is up to almost a full 100 amps. The inverter's holding steady at about 7,450 watts. We're pulling 150 amps from the WattCycle battery. Let's add more. Let's do a space heater. 9,000 watts, 185 amps. The last thing I have to add is this heat gun. Let's go ahead and add that. 10,400 watts, 222 amps coming out of the battery. Let's run like this for a second. Almost 10,500. This inverter's holding very steady. Rock solid at 120 volts. Over 10,000 watts, 200 plus amps coming out of the WattCycle battery. Unfortunately, this is as many heavy loads as I've got to plug into this, so I don't think I'll be able to get it to the full 12,000 watt limit. It's handling this 10,000 plus watt load plenty good. It is a little loud. Now, some of the noise you're going to hear is from the chargeverter here, but let you hear what the fans on this inverter sound like while it's cranking. So I would say that's an additional difference between this unit and the 12,000 XP. This unit is a little louder than the 12,000 XP when it's really cranking. So on this inverter, let's test imbalance load. So hopefully you can see right here, we're pulling 16 amps, over 2,000 watts on line 1. Line 2 has just 6 watts. 14, fluctuating a little bit, but not very much. So we're going to try and see how far we can push line 1 before this inverter shuts down. Chargeverter is off. I'm just going to run my heavy 120 volt loads on this. That's 2 1,000 watt battery chargers. That's what's running right now. Then we'll add the heat gun and the space heater. So let's actually add the space heater right now. That's 3,800 watts. 36, now that it's warming up a little bit. Okay, let's go ahead and turn the heat gun on high. There's 5,000, 4,800 now, 49, 4,900. Now because this is a 12,000 watt inverter, would figure that you could probably get like 6,000 watts on each leg, at least. Let me try adding the chargeverter. That's going to add a symmetrical load, 240 volt load, but we could get potentially over 6,000 watts on one leg with this. Let's see. Oh, we've got a fault. It's blinking and it shut down. So that was enough to overload it. So let's see what the fault is here. Yeah, inverter overload right there. All right, got everything reset. Let's try something different. Let me turn on the chargeverter first, and then we'll add the 120 volt loads and we'll see, what tips this over the edge for load imbalance. So again, we've currently got a base load of 2,000 watts on line 1, hardly anything on line 2, 15 watts. Let's go ahead and turn the chargeverter on. Let's watch this wattage climb here. There's 3,000 watt load imbalance. There's 4,000 watts. I think that's where we're going to top out, about 4,800. Very close, 4,750. Okay, I'm going to leave you guys trained here. I'm going to turn this space heater on, turning it on. Oh, we got a fall, over 6,000 watts. 67. Let me back it back a little bit. Okay, looks like the fault went away as soon as I went below 6,000. Let me add the space heater again. Yep, we got the fault again. 6,300, 6,200, 6,100. Still getting the fault code. So as soon as you go over 6,000 watts, you're going to start getting an error for load imbalance. Okay, let's see what happens when I add heat gun. Here we go. 77. Oh, and there it went off. Okay, so I went to the effort of bringing this inverter back to where I typically film. And there's a giant mess of wires and stuff here. But in the manual, as well as on the unit itself, they advertise this being a hybrid inverter. And in the box, it comes with, these nice white CT clamps. So you would expect that this would have, hybrid inverter capabilities to zero out your power consumption in parallel with the grid. Well, that's not the case. I have been through every single setting in this inverter. I've been through every page on this manual, and if you look right here on page 35 where it's talking about the CT clamps, it says this inverter does not have the corresponding grid connected authentication. This function is only suitable for off-grid applications. So don't be deceived by the name of hybrid in this. There is no way to leverage these CT clamps, at least at the time of making this video, to zero out your power consumption. In other words, you can't simply connect this to your main breaker panel and offset the loads. Granted, it wouldn't run when the power is out, right, for anti-islanding and stuff, but you've got to transfer all of your stuff over to a separate panel, just like you would for the 12,000 XP, in order for this inverter to run it on the AC output. So I think it's kind of dumb that they send you these CT clamps where they're really useless. Now feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. WattCycle, I'm happy to pin a comment or something and have you set the record straight and tell everyone exact step-by-step instructions on how to configure this so that it does do hybrid functionality. And I'll even make another video showing how it works as well. But as far as I can tell, this does not have hybrid functionality. The only quote-unquote hybrid functionality this has is the ability to charge your batteries simultaneously with PV power as well as with grid power. That's the hybrid charging functionality that this offers. But yeah, you guys, what a bummer that this inverter has no zero export functionality. That's just tragic. I was really excited when I was seeing things about hybrid this, hybrid that, CT clamps at this price point, but I guess it's too good to be true. Let's take a look inside this inverter. These are 8-gauge wires that are feeding the terminal. I find that interesting because they recommend 6-gauge wire to go into these terminal blocks. However, it is very difficult with the amount of space you have here to bend 6-gauge wire enough to get it in. It's possible, but that is very challenging with the limited space you have here and the teeny tiny little grommet holes. So it kind of looks like we've got two sides to the inverter. This kind of looks to be maybe the DC side, and then this over here appears to maybe be the AC side. As you can see, the wires coming up here for the PV input, and then there's obviously wires here that are jumping from one board to the other. These wires are even smaller. Maybe the voltage is significantly higher going through these wires after it gets done in this board over here. So that's how they can get away with these smaller wires before they go to the 8-gauge over here. Just an interesting observation. Nice big bank of capacitors back there. Now you might be able to see there is this clear plastic, and it's kind of like ducting almost to channel the air. So we've got these two fans taking care of the heat off these heat sinks, and then we have these two fans that are going to be drawing air this way. They do draw the air in from these ports on the side, and they draw it down and exhaust out the bottom. So when this is hanging on the wall, the fans do have to fight against natural convective airflow. Not that that's super difficult to overcome with powered fans like this. I do find that somewhat interesting as well. We do have solid bus bars though from the terminals here through the fuse and into this first board, so that's good to see. Most of the stuff is happening on these boards, but there is some cables, and they have been cable managed. Zip ties here, zip ties here. This loose ribbon cable here is for the back of the screen right there. And then these are just very short runs on the ribbon cable, jumping from board to board. I don't know if you can see, but there's a lot of that white gluey stuff on all the components to keep everything in place. See more of it right here, so that's good to see. And I don't know if you can see, but can you see how the board is kind of shiny? So they specifically say this is only indoor rated, which is very true. I mean, we've got giant holes here that water and stuff could easily enter in through. But it does look like the boards have some coating on it to help it, against humidity and dust and what have you. The other good thing is this was just a couple of screws to pop this cover off, and I did not see any kind of, stickers or anything that would void warranties and stuff. If you did, I'm sure they'd prefer you not getting in here at all. But one reason why you may want to get in here is to just get some light compressed air or something to blow this out periodically, because even with little dust filters, I'm sure this is going to get very dusty over time. I'm not a huge expert in electronics like this, so those of you that are, certainly sound off in the comments and tell us what you notice that's good, what you notice that may be bad, and help us all learn and observe together. Let me go through the menus quick and just kind of show you how this works. So here on the home screen, you can actually tap on information and see stuff about the grid. Information about L1 here. It has kind of 2 pages worth of L1 information. Going to L2, same thing. If you tap your house icon, the loads, it's going to tell you what each line is doing on the output side. Tapping here in the middle, this kind of gives you a general overview of the unit itself. Not 100% sure what all this information is here. Tapping on the PV over here gives you information from the PV1 charge controller. I currently don't have anything hooked up to it, and same information for PV2. And tapping on the battery over here, we just have some stats on the battery. The main button here is the main screen that we're on. Hitting history here, you can kind of see some charts and graphs. Here in the settings, we can hit the normal button here, and this is kind of where you can set, priorities, PV first, battery first, grid first, etc. You can set output voltages. So if you wanted to be like 110 volts instead of 120, that's where you do it. Change the frequency. You can enable and disable power saving mode down here. You can change charge priorities, charging currents, whether it's split phase or not. Here's where you can change if it automatically restarts during an overload or after an overload. And all of these are explained in the manual. Hitting parallel is where you configure the settings to parallel multiples inverters. Hybrid mode. It seems like there are settings here for, the hybrid capability, but it does not function. Here's your battery settings where you can change, the protocols or set up, custom charging profiles. I'll just kind of scroll through these pages here, and you guys can pause and look at it if you want. Like I said, the manual kind of goes through all of these options in depth. EMS, this is where you can change your communication protocols, as well as customize, what percent of charge things happen at. Others right here, you can change the brightness of the display, change your date and time, which I need to do, change your language, just the basic general settings. And that's it in a nutshell. Now, you may notice that this display looks very similar to other inverters you've seen. That's because I believe this is just a rebranded SRNE inverter. SRNE makes some good stuff, so I'm happy to see that WattCycle is potentially tapping into that resource. There is compatibility with a Wi-Fi dongle for this inverter. However, it does not ship with the inverter. I didn't get one, so I could not show you any kind of software or app control on it. Comment below and tell me what you guys think. Is this something you would buy? If not, why? And is the cost savings for this versus the little extras that you get with the 12,000 XP worth it to go with this WattCycle unit? Or do you think you'd go with the 12,000 XP still? Those are questions I'd love to hear your answers on. And I know a lot of other people who will be looking at the comment section will want to hear everyone's thoughts on that as well. So let your thoughts fly. I can't wait to read them. I will have links for this down in the description, as well as any coupon codes I can get for you to save you even more money. Also, don't forget that I have links down there for you to schedule a one-on-one video consultation with me, as well as submit a guaranteed to be answered question by me, as well as everyone's favorite feature these days, the internal search engine that allows you to type in any question or keyword that you're interested about, and it will search through all of my videos and bring up any videos that has matching keywords, whether that be in the description or the title or the transcriptions of my videos. So take advantage of that as well to learn more. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hype. YouTube does not like to push these educational type videos from small channels like mine. And so the only way to kind of nudge it to maybe push it to a few people is by doing those 5 free things. And I can't do it on my own, so I need to rely on all of you to do that for me. And I know a lot of you do that regularly, and I really, really appreciate it. So thank you. You all know who you are. I really appreciate the support. We've always got more epic content on the horizon, so stay tuned, stay safe, and we'll catch y'all next time.